So people don't handle with life challenges well if they don't have all four wheels in good order and all four wheels in balance, because life will cause you to have to make some sudden exits and sudden stops.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset, everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer. Be sure to head over to clicksandbricksacademy.com so you can access all the resources to start improving your sales today.
I am super excited about today's episode. We have Kim Levings with us today, and she's going to teach us how to diagnose and change our mindset. How are you doing today, Kim?
I'm great. Thanks, Ken. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Are you joining us from South Africa today, or?
No, I'm originally from South Africa. I'm now based in Colorado Springs.
Oh, beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Fantastic. Can you tell the audience a little bit about you? Just introduce yourself and what your company does.
Right. So my name is Kim Levings. As I said, I grew up in Johannesburg, South Africa. I am a thinking coach, but if you look at my professional bio, I would say I'm a speaker, I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, and an author and a podcaster. I work in the field of personal development and leader development, and I have done for more than 35 years of my life now.
Fantastic. Now, when we first got on today and we were talking a little bit, you shared a very personal story with me, and I thank you so much for sharing that with the audience. It's a little bit emotional, but can you share your origin story with me and the audience today?
Sure, Ken. You know, I like to say that I grew up in a typical middle-class family, neighborhood house. I had a very happy childhood. I was very blessed. But in there was a trap in that I had formed a foundation of all my personal security around the family origins. And when I was 18, my parents got divorced, and both my sisters at that point were living overseas. And this was incredibly traumatic for me. And I now know in hindsight the importance of dealing with trauma and loss and grief over the loss of that marriage and the loss of my very foundation. I didn't handle it very well. You know, instead, I made some really bad choices in my personal life, and I spiraled deeper and deeper into depression until I tried not once, but twice to take my own life. And the second time, when I realized, when I woke up and was in the hospital and I had come pretty close to succeeding that time, I realized then it wasn't my life to take, first of all. And God said, I'm not done with you. And I immediately went back to my same wild life because I wasn't quite sure what to do with the fact that God had said he had something in mind for me. And it wasn't until a few years later that I realized there must be a better way to live. What got me into that mess? And how can I get myself back out? How am I going to put my life back together? I also fell pregnant, and my daughter helped me turn my life around. But that was really what got me started.
I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but thank you so much for finding that and then getting to where you're at today. It's a remarkable story. Now, most people would say, you know, we hear this all the time. This has not been true for me either. You know, you hit rock bottom and then you start making the changes, and you would think waking up from the hospital after a suicide attempt would be rock bottom, but that wasn't the case for you, right? You went right back to kind of old ways, and Lord knows I've done that many times myself. Was there, you know, how did you come to that realization that, hey, there's got to be a better way to live? Like, was there another event that triggered that, or
it wasn't
was it
really
just
an
natural?
event? No, I think it was just a gradual realization when I realized I wasn't happy with the person I was looking at in the mirror. And I often remember the words of my father, who had miraculously survived a bomb explosion in World War II. And he often said, what was I saved to do? And I found myself asking that question. There must be a reason. Why would I just go back down that same slippery slope? And of course, by then I was a young mother. But the interesting thing is that my personal life was a mess, but my career was a great success. So I would work incredibly hard and be very good at my job. But then I've slowly got my personal life to align to it. And this happens many times for people, Ken, in that it's a slow realization that something is off, that they're not really where they want to be. And that's exactly how I approach clients today. When people say, you know, who do you like to work with? I said, I love to work with individuals who realize there's something better in life, but they're just not quite sure what it is, or they know what it is, but they're too busy in their current life to even think about pursuing that dream or making a change. So it really sort of was the foundation of my work.
Okay, that's fantastic, right? Because you don't have to get to rock bottom to make a change, right? You can gradually come to that, and it happens to a lot of people all the time. I never,
Yes.
I mean, a lot of people would say I've hit rock bottom multiple times in my life, compared to some of other people's stories.
You just
However,
get better at bouncing back, right?
yeah, it's that, that constant gradual change. I think for me, it was my second child that really started making me have, putting significant work into changing the kind of person that I am.
Right.
So,
right.
And now you have some diagnostic tips and some tips and tricks that you use. Not really tricks, but I mean, they're proven scientific things that you do. And before we jumped on, you talked about this process of the four wheels of the car. And we thought it might be fun to show the audience kind of what it is that you do. So go ahead and lead me through this whole process.
All right.
And I'll be the guinea pig, and I'll just try to, wear all my emotions on my sleeve for you for the next few minutes. And we'll go through this, and maybe somebody can get something out of it.
That's fabulous, Ken. And in fact, just to clarify that the scientific diagnostics is something different, but this is kind of the foundation to some of my life coaching. And I call one of my programs is called Exponential Living, and the other program is called Leap, which is for leaders. But in both programs, one of the foundational questions that people wrestle with is I say we all have four parts of self, and you can liken these to wheels on a motor vehicle. And these are physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. Now, I'm going to ask you, Ken, if you consider those four parts of your life and you think of them as the four wheels in the car, so physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, which of the two wheels are your front wheels?
Physical and spiritual. That would be my, that's where I lead most of my life from. Yeah.
That's excellent. Physical and spiritual. And then the back two wheels are then emotional and intellectual. So intellectual is not just sort of being smart, but that's where I put all the things in career. So people who are entrepreneurs. So I recently coached somebody, and when she filled in this exercise, she said in her coaching notes, well, I've just figured out I've been a three-wheeler all my life, right? Because she's leading with physical and intellectual. So she's working out all the time, but she's also working very hard on her business. But her relationships are the back wheel, and the spiritual wheel's in the trunk, which is often the case for many people. They're three-wheelers and they pull out the spiritual wheel in the case of emergencies. So
my emotional is the one that I struggle with the most.
Okay, now emotional in this context is not so much being reactive, Ken, so I understand the emotional reaction.
Okay.
In this case, emotions are your emotional health and your relationships to other people. So how you're engaging with people, how you are supported, how you are connected. That's what I mean by emotional.
Right.
So the exercises my clients go through include personality, what I call their circles of influence, their relationships. That's all in the emotional wheel. But the concept works well because when you go through life, I'm sure we've all had this experience where one day you suddenly, and this is before computers, so keep that in mind. These days, our cars have got computers. The computer tells you that one of your wheels is out of order. But in the old days, if you got a nail in your tire, how would you figure that out? You'd be on the highway and suddenly you'd pick up a shudder, right? Or you'd turn a corner and the car would spin out a little and you think, gee whiz, one of my wheels is not working real well. That's how we are in life. Well, we start to, so if somebody has more than one wheel out, let's say you have two wheels out, now you have to suddenly hit the brakes or make a swerve. You may well wipe out. So people don't handle with life challenges well if they don't have all four wheels in good order and all four wheels in balance, because life will cause you to have to make some sudden exits and sudden stops.
Absolutely. And we talk a lot about overcoming adversity on the podcast, right? Because we talk to so many entrepreneurs, and very seldomly will you find an entrepreneur, and I've talked to only a couple of them, and I think they're lying to me, that say, nope, since I opened the doors, it's been a silver cloud the whole time, right? Where I know that in my businesses, I have to sometimes paint my own silver lining, right? It's not, I got to figure out how to make this a positive situation instead of just, doom and gloom. But so now out of these, for me on the emotional, where I really struggle, and I think a lot of business owners probably do this, or managers, even mid-level management, is I'm pretty aware of my emotions, but when it's time to have a difficult conversation, I am very bad at that, right? I tend to, I work myself up with frustration, And that frustration comes out when we're having the conversation, and it's not a good thing for leaders to have. It's probably my biggest weakness at this point in my life, but it's something that I work on a regular basis. So like having those wheels out of balance, like how much of a big of a difference is it that if you don't know they're out of balance, or at least you're aware that, hey, I have these four wheels, is it just a huge jump to say, even acknowledging that you have these four different categories in your life?
I think it's a huge jump in terms of just life balance, overall life health. You are an integrated individual. You cannot overwork at the expense of your health, and then you become useless to everybody because you have a wipeout. Right. Or if you're overly concerned with your relationships, that's where I talk about codependency and abusive relationships. That's all emotional bad junk. So you've got problems going on in the emotional wheel. It's going to affect all the other three wheels. That's really the concept. But to your point about what you're struggling with in a confrontational situation or getting yourself emotionally wrung out, some of that is going to the deeper work that I do, which is what I call the root source narratives of the subconscious brain. And that's where I use diagnostics to identify what are the incorrect beliefs and narratives stored in your subconscious brain that are creating those conscious behavioral responses, or in your case, emotional responses. There are reasons for those, and you can rewrite the narrative, because in the last 3 or 4 decades, we've discovered the power of neuroplasticity in the brain. Just because you've always been that way, Ken, doesn't mean to say you have to always do that. And Absolutely. the other analogy I use, if I might, I say to my clients, it's, if you think of that as a fire burning, right? So you have these emotional reactions and you're stressed out about conflict or conversations. Think of it as a fire burning. And when I come in, whether I work with an individual or work with an entire leadership team, which I do as well, I say, my job is not to give you a bigger fire extinguisher. My job is to put the fire out. Because many consultants and programs and things that you want to do are just, they're all just different firefighting equipment. It's a bigger fire hose. It's a new foam extinguisher. And you've got all these great tools in the closet. I'm saying, let's just put the fire out, because it gets exhausting having to constantly use all those coping mechanisms in life.
It is exhausting using all those coping mechanisms in life. But I think it's probably, for me, and we've never met, and I don't know much about your program, and I've gone through, I've had a therapist or a counselor since I was 7 years old, somewhere in my life. So I think I've almost run the gamut on all the different techniques and stuff like that. But I think it's both having the tools and working on the root cause, because unless there's some kind of silver bullet that I'm unaware of to get rid of that root cause, it's really, you got to have both of those, and having coping mechanisms and tools to deal with that, I think, is important. Yes. Right?
Yes. And I agree. And as I said, I say that jokingly, but, know that I also had a therapist in my life when I was first recovering from my depression. Therapy and medical intervention is necessary at times. It all works together. So yeah, you need the coping mechanisms until your brain can catch up and form a new narrative.
Absolutely.
And write a new script.
Yep. So yeah, I've heard the phrase, and maybe you can put some insight on this, that your brain is a supercomputer and your subconscious is the program that it runs, and you can change your subconscious.
Exactly.
Right? But you have to be aware that you can do that, right? And that comes with self-talk, and there's a whole lot of tools and techniques that you can use to do that. So one thing, if you're waking up in the morning and you're not happy, you can change that. You can become a morning person, right? Those are things in your world that you can change.
Yeah, there are some things that you can change. And if you're not a morning person and this is really affecting your life, that I'm not going to try and make you a morning person. But that said, to your point, there are a lot of assessments and tools out there. The diagnostic I use actually measures the thinking algorithms and gives you an answer in 10 minutes or less. So it takes away months of guesswork and talking and self-talk to try and figure out where the problem is. And then I'm able to give you specific new narratives that you can then teach your brain over a period of weeks. So we achieve 40 to 60% performance lift in individuals in as little as 90 days.
Wow, that is amazing. So if somebody out in the world wanted to do business with you, what's the easiest, fastest way to do that?
There's a link on my page at kimlavings.com. and people can book time with me. And I also have a workshop coming out in a few weeks called Build Your Breakthrough. So some people want to dabble with this at first. They just want to get a little better understanding about their mindset. The Build Your Breakthrough workshop is a 5-day self-driven workshop that people can jump in at any time. And yes, I'm giving people 20% off. So the 5 days of training is only $77. But to contact me, to actually have a consultation and perhaps to do a diagnostic, people can go to my website and there is a booking link on there that you can book directly on my schedule, or you could email me at kim@kimlovings.com to get a free diagnostic and an initial conversation.
That is fantastic. Thank you for doing that. It's really important for business owners to take this stuff seriously, right? If there's something that's not, if your horse isn't galloping right for whatever reason, right? If your car's a little wobbly, and probably is, regardless of how fast you're driving or how well you're doing, there's probably something that you can work on to make that drive smoother and straighten that ride out. These are important things. And if you're not working with Kim, I encourage you to work with somebody out there. There's lots of different techniques and lots of different things out there that you can try and do. And my opinion is that there's not one solution that is the best for everybody, but keep trying stuff and keep growing and keep learning, because it's, being a human being is a challenging task sometimes.
Well, in fact, Ken, I know that you speak a lot to entrepreneurs, and I'll say that this is a proven statistic, and I'm not going to quote the percentages because I'm going to get it wrong, but there is a direct correlation between the investment that leaders make in their development and their learning and their earnings. They've proven this, that the more you invest in your personal development, the more your earnings and returns as a business owner. So people who are not making their personal development a priority are actually missing out on this investment return equation.
Yeah, having a high IQ will get you really far in business, but if you don't have any emotional intelligence and you don't know anything about yourself and how you interact with people, you're going to hit a plateau and you'll be stuck there for a very, very long time. I know from experience, I was stuck at one level for a very, very long time, and until I really started diving into the whole world of working on myself, which prior to mindfulness, I thought it was, I just need to educate myself more. I need to know how to, write code and build robots and write AIs and build landing pages and do all these different things. And I have a huge skill set, but my mindset was lacking dramatically in a lot of places. And until a couple of years ago, when I really started working on that, things started changing, I would say pretty dramatically, right? And then not just me, you can even ask my team that I've been with. Some of the people on my team have been with me for 15, 20 years. And they can definitely see, keep doing whatever you're doing. And I'm like, you should do it with me. And no, you just do your own thing. I'm like, so we try not to push people into it, because I don't think it's something you can be pushed into. It's something you have to come to on your own, right?
Yes.
I would think.
Yes. And like you said, some entrepreneurs I've had, because I specialize in coaching entrepreneurs, but also C-level executives and leadership teams.
Right.
And when I work with individuals, I say that sometimes, especially entrepreneurs and C-level execs, they are their own worst enemy, because they'll tell me they have all these problem people. And after we've cycled through it for a while, I say, have you ever thought about the fact that maybe you're the problem? That it's not everybody on your team, it's actually you, because you seem to be the common denominator in all these situations. And it's like that in life too. So my old company name was Rethink You. I help people rethink themselves, and I said it's because if you don't like the landscape of your life, you need to rethink you, because people will change jobs and change cities and change partners. They will constantly be making changes in order to try and fix something. But in fact, the problem is within them. They are the common denominator. So wherever you go, there you are. And so until you rethink yourself, nothing in life is going to change. And not many people know how to do that. A great quote from my own coach, all good coaches have coaches. And a great quote from my coach says, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And that's why people need a coach, because you can't see your blind spots. You need somebody else to reflect back to you what's going on in your life and to help you rethink yourself, because you're using your own brain to rewrite your narratives. It's a little skewed. It's not going to work as well. It's going to take longer than if you've got somebody on the outside looking in saying, hey, well, maybe you want to try this or try that.
Absolutely. I had one of my mentors once tell me, because I was complaining about people on my team, like, I need a new team. I didn't choose this team. And I was being childish and immature about the whole thing. Like, you stuck me with this team. He says, Ken, even the Yankees have bad players, but they have amazing coaches. You're an amazing coach. Go teach them. You've got to bring them up. You got to step them up. And that's your job as a coach leader, right? And that's the difference between a coach and a trainer, or a boss and a leader, right? I think they're different mindsets, and the coaches and leaders make a lot more than bosses and trainers long term. So, and you can't be a good coach or a good leader unless you're really, really working on yourself and putting your people first. So it's important. It's really important stuff if you want to excel. You can get pretty far in life without all of this, but when you get stuck and you're trying to figure out how to get to the next level, I mean, this is the kind of thing that you're going to have to start working on, in my opinion. So, and I think I've got a pretty popular opinion there with amongst the circles I run in.
Right. And I think that the world that we're living in these days demands it, Ken. I know you're also talking about the concept of clicks and bricks, and there's only so much you can do in a virtual world. And in fact, in a virtual world, relational, emotional intelligence is even more important.
Absolutely.
The ability to read a room is even more important on Zoom than it is in life, right?
Yes,
so,
it is.
That's the one skill. But then also, as you said, and the bricks, I do in-person training workshops. And of course, I still have fun with that and speak to any trainer like myself. We love our live workshop experiences because there's something powerful that goes on in the room when you do that. But
Absolutely.
bringing those two together, and to your point about if you've got troubled people on your team, they will hold you back. So your inability to help your people grow is going to hold you back.
Yes.
And I also say, having had various stints in an HR chair in my career, there are times when you have people that you probably shouldn't have hired. Because, the old saying, you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear unless you have a silk sow to start with. It still applies today. We used to say that 30 years ago. It still applies today. So some of what I do with the diagnostics also applies to hiring and performance management. So that's just FYI on the corporate side of what I do.
Yeah. And I say, I can't teach fish to climb trees, and I can't teach squirrels to swim. And,
right, there you go.
And it is so challenging, because I've fallen into this trap a lot, where I want something out of a staff member that's greater than what they want for themselves. And I try to push them, and I've frequently pushed them out of the company, right? When they would have been a great employee doing the job that they wanted, but I had such a hard time understanding why somebody would want just a job, right? But there's a lot of people out there that want just a job. They want to come in, they want to do their 9 to 5 and leave. And that was really hard for me to comprehend for most of my life, right? It's really hard for me to understand. Like, why would anybody want to be an employee? That seems like a bad existence to me. And it took a long time for me to understand that, this is what they want. This is what makes them happy. And that's okay. I gotta accept what they want and then move forward with life and find other leaders to grow.
Right. Sorry, Ken, I didn't mean to tread on you there.
Yes.
But that's an important concept, because it's why I have an intake process with my clients. There are some people I won't work with because I can't want it more for you than you want it for yourself. So when I say to people, I will help you rethink yourself and get your life on track and help you succeed in life. But this is a partnership. I'm not going to drag you kicking and screaming into your vision.
Right. You have to want to run there.
It's your vision. You must want to do the work. And it is going to take work. So if you're afraid of hard work, then stay in your comfort zone. And there was a coach who posted online, I can't think of her name offhand. It was a wonderful meme. And it basically said, your comfort zone is lovingly decorated with artwork of all your excuses.
Yes, absolutely. We don't have excuses in our world, but we try to move those and leave those to the side. Now, this is
exactly.
I love the mindset talk, but at heart, I'm an old school nerd and a geek, and I love to think about technology. And right now, February of 2022, we're in a right at the cusp of something great that's getting ready to happen, this Internet 3.0 journey that we're all on together. If you know about it or not know about it, doesn't matter. You're on this journey with all of us. We're going there. Mark Zuckerberg's going to make sure of it. Him and Elon are gonna push us into this new future.
The real Mark, or the holographic Mark, right?
Absolutely. So what are your thoughts in your industry and how technology is going to be changing and shaping our future?
Well, it's fascinating, Ken. I know we spoke about this earlier, that before COVID happened, people like myself were already in a hybrid business. I know I've been doing e-learning and Zoom work for years before COVID. And so when COVID happened and sort of kind of shut everything down, nothing much changed in my world other than I had to stop a lot of the travel and the live training. But what it looks like in the future, I'm astounded at how many brilliant people are out there now figuring out, hey, I could take all my smarts and create easy online training programs. So the online training business and the coaching business, which has moved online, are exploding because technology is putting learning in everybody's back pockets. It's no longer a case of investing thousands of dollars to go to school or to go to night classes, or, learning is so easy that technology has actually removed all the excuses from the ability to develop yourself. And I said, YouTube is absolutely incredible. I said, it's the world's largest library on how to learn anything. And people like myself, things that used to be live workshops are all just now online, which means that I can do 10 times the amount of teaching. So the internet in general, and, for my generation, because I'm not that young, but I often say to my generation, if you don't understand technology, then you either need to get off the bus or get with the program, because you're going to get left behind. And that's the reality.
Absolutely. And this new, I'm pretty tech savvy. This new Internet 3.0, there's so many facets to it that you can really jump on any one of the trains and probably be pretty successful. NFT, blockchain, VR, augmented reality, right? All of these different things are coming, and they're coming really fast. It feels to me like they're all coming coupled together even, right? Whereas,
yes,
the 90s with .com, it was kind of like, oh, we got .net, .org, .com. That was a slow kind of transition. It popped really good in the early 2000s, and then Facebook and all this other stuff. But I don't remember a time in my life where this many new technologies were all coming together to create one kind of, I don't know, atmosphere or whatever it is that we're creating with this new technology together. But it is super exciting and a lot of fun. I'm having an absolute blast with, the robotics and the 3D printing and VR. And man, for someone that's a shiny object guy, I'm in the right spot right now. So
yeah, having just spoken to you for this short amount of time, Ken, I've already read about 3 or 4 of the things in your diagnostic. So we're going to have to talk soon. But yeah, the shiny toy syndrome is another aspect of entrepreneurs. And yeah, I think it's very exciting. As I said, and my caution would be, let's not forget how to be together in person, how to be with each other, because technology is going to free up what we can do, and the sheer breadth of it would be mind-boggling. And at the same time, we are still human beings doing life together on this very broken planet of ours, and learning how to be together. And as I said, part of the problem with COVID is that people didn't know how to do hard. People don't do hard because they had lived in this comfort zone for nearly a generation. We'd had no major challenges.
Right.
And all of a sudden, overnight, you couldn't get toilet paper. I mean, that was a crisis here in this first world country, right?
And they freaked out. It was a nightmare for most people. Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So people don't do hard. But so my caution is, as technology explodes around you, there will be a danger that people who are not socially adept at engaging in good connections and relationships may retreat further into the world of the internet. Technology will never replace human contact. No. So keep that in mind. So I think people's ability to engage and do hard together, joined arm in arm, is going to become more important than ever.
Yeah, and it's our job for the extroverts in the world to help those introverts not be fully immersed. This is really, really important to me. Personally, I've got an autistic son, and I know that he could get lost in a VR world and never come back out. He would be totally happy, right? Just eating Cheetos and staying in a VR world forever, right? So, the rest of the world's going to have some kind of responsibility in making sure that we don't leave the VR world, the people that have the tendency to get lost in that world. We have some kind of responsibility to make sure that doesn't happen to them, that we don't just throw these people away. So
no, absolutely. And I can remember having lived through technology. I said, I show my age when I say when on my first job, I had a typewriter and a telex machine.
Right.
So I go way back, long before computers. But I said, when the internet first arrived and everyone said, oh, the internet was the devil, I said, nothing in life is good or bad. It's how you use it. So Internet 3.02, it has the ability to do good and evil. How you do that is your choice, which brings us back to the beginning of our story about mindset. How balanced are you? Because you are constantly at choice in life, and the choices you make determine your outcome. And that it determines how you interact with these circumstances that are going on around you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kim. I had a blast. Is there anything you would like to leave the audience with?
No, as I said, I did mention the Build Your Breakthrough workshop. I put that together for midlife career professionals who are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And kimlovings.com, people can find out all about me there. And my YouTube channel, where I had all of my podcasts, is rethinkyou.com. That's under the old brand. But I just put the podcast on hold for a while I rebranded and figured out where I want to be this year, so I'll be coming back on stream. But this has been
let me know when it's back
delight.
up and you're back into production. I'm super excited to check that out. Thank you so much for your time today. Ken. We appreciate it. That's it for today's show, folks. Again, if you'd like to join my text line community, it's 314-370-2871. You can ask me any question about business or technology. I'll give you an absolutely free, unbiased answer, and I'll never try to sell you anything on that text line. Get to work.